Hello and welcome to another episode of the Connection Currency. I'll just go through our little bit of housekeeping. There could be we're very authentic. We do not edit anything. So if you've been listening to some of the other podcasts, there could be some trigger warnings that I need to give you. So if you're triggered by anything, you might need to step away now. There could be swearing. Who knows where it goes? I don't edit anything because I believe in the world that we're living in, we need to be more authentic. Like with everything that's happening with tech and everything, we just need to have that authenticity and human connection. And with human connection comes these things. So, in our world full of noise and hustle, I believe real growth comes from human connection and close connections with each other, deep connections. So, this isn't about a performance. There's no right or wrong polished answers ever here. I'm just really curious about what lights businesses up, what makes businesses keep ticking, what lights them up. Some of us in business are growing quietly. Some of us are tired. Some of us are just succeeding beyond our wildest beliefs, but we still doubt ourselves. We still have that imposter syndrome happening. I'm just hoping here that I'm creating a really aligned community that feels supported, connected, and empowered. And my wish is that everyone can connect and collaborate with each other in that authentic, deeper way. So the connection currency, I always say, should never feel like shoving your business card at somebody and hoping that they might look at your business card or remember you in the future. So, with this all in mind, I'm really excited to have a lovely friend of mine, Raquel, here today with me. Raquel's from Blue Diamond Property, and I will give you the blurb and all the information on her. But I'm going to ask her those same three questions that I ask everybody else. So, hello and welcome, Raquel.
Hello, thank you for having me, Robin. It's such a pleasure to have a chat on your connection currency.
Oh, we're all going to connect and we're all going to make some currency. So one of the things, and you're always lit up. So, and I know the answers to these questions, but I'm going to ask you because I ask everybody. So, what lights you up in business? What lights you up in life? What gives you that energy to keep going every day, to get up and love what you do?
I think it's a gift that we're here, first of all. And I think our time, you should actually, as you get older, as you would know, Robin, as we live a little bit of life, I think it's really important that we know that we need to actually embrace what we do because we have limited time as we have gotten older, and maybe when we were younger we didn't appreciate as much what we learned and what we did at that time frame. And now I've been in the industry for 36 years. I really believe that my importance is one is advocacy for the next generation. It's about really enjoying what I do. If I don't enjoy something, I actually don't do it anymore because I think, why do something if you're not enjoying it because you're not going to give it your best?
Mm,
So I really believe in actually doing what you love. Okay, you're not going to have a perfect day every day. Don't get me wrong. It's not like, we live in a perfect world. We don't. But we have to have goals that we know that we can achieve or we're going to try really hard to get to. And if we don't get to them, we'll get them the next time, or, something else will come in that will help you achieve it. If you don't, you may steer towards another achievement. But at the end of the day, you've got to do what you love and
yeah,
also what you're good at
yeah,
as well. Because if you're good at it, you're going to get the results.
yeah.
And, you can always add on as well. Like, a lot of people don't realize that you can add on. You may be in a business and you may be doing something that you're doing. Say, for instance, myself, I've always been in the property and construction space. However, I also go into the foundation and my charity work as well, which I absolutely love. That's a great balance. Charity work gives you the balance of a different sort because you're giving so much, and your results are very heartfelt to the community. Where in business, there is, let's face it, there's a part where you've got to be completely ruthless
Mm,
to be successful.
mm,
Okay, especially in a male dominated space.
yeah,
And so I think, there's that different balance there that's very important. But then you go on to the women's empowerment section, which is completely different again, right? And a different space. And then you're in another world where you go, oh my God, I can make a difference here, but I can also learn.
yeah,
And I think one of the gifts we have is that we are continuously learning different parts of business, different parts of evolving, different parts of empowerment. And that is another area, again, which brings different responsibilities. And that could be talking on stage, that could be talking on a podcast, that could be an industry advocate, not just for property and construction, but women's empowerment as well. And
yeah.
from there, so much more can go, judging, events and judging awards and writing a book. So much. There's
So
so
much
much to
more.
do
Yeah.
to light your
And
world.
I mixed the questions up because we were chatting before, so I really wanted to start with that because I know you're just lit up and you're lit up every day. But usually the first question I ask is, and I wanted to roll the other way into that because I just knew you were so lit up and like, you know, in the afternoon when we're all starting to get tired and you're still bubbling along. But tell me, so when you started your business, what was the moment that you realized, hang on, I'm in business or I've started a business. I need to formalize this. Like how did you go about it? What sort of happened for you also for your charity? What was the beginning? What did the beginning look like for you?
The beginning of Blue Diamonds, which is nearly 12 years old in August, that business came about very differently to the other businesses I've been involved in, like from the start. So a lot of people know Blue Diamond, but also before that, there was 25 years of being in business as well. I have actually never worked for anyone, Robin.
I love that. I love that. You've
My
only worked for
greatest
yourself.
fear in life is having to work for
For
somebody.
someone else. Yeah, you'll never have to.
And I think if you're born that way, you're born that way.
Yeah.
But Blue Diamond came through in a different sense, and it came through out of survival
Mm,
and starting again at the age of 44.
mm, mm,
And what I did have was knowledge
yeah. And
and
experience.
and experience. However, that knowledge, yes, was great grounding and everything, but to start Blue Diamond was a different facet to what I was used to. So I was used to construction and had all, that experience in building. However, Blue Diamond came about in selling houses and product.
Mm,
Again, different. And when I started off, it was uh, my relationships that got me the sites because I didn't have any sites, right? I didn't
mm,
have any stock.
yeah.
And I've done this course and I've, okay, well, yeah, what am I going to do? And what was really interesting was everything kept going back from my experience of being a developer, owning a building company, and all my experience in construction, living out where the new airport was being built.
Mm,
That was just lucky timing, right? Because that's been built now and nearly finished. But 12 years ago, that's where the land and the future land rezoning was going to start.
mm,
Now, here's where relationships come in, being so important, right? And I'm talking decades back to school days of relationships. So, a
yeah.
lot of the big farms and a lot of the big areas that were being rezoned, I knew a lot of the owners. Now, whether it's from living in that area and doing business in that area for so long, or the relationships that I built out in the schoolyard, believe it
Mm,
or not, the
mm,
families owned a lot of the land. And I had an old school friend who had been parallel all through business. He was actually a supervisor for one of our large tier one house and land builders. So, we're always working alongside each other, and he went out and did his own company. And then he went into project management, right, for a tier one. And he said, Raquel, you know a lot of the landowners out there. Come into the city. I want to introduce you to the bosses. And when I walked in, they were like, who's this person? I was a bit of a dark horse when I started Blue Diamond, right? A real dark horse, because what was really interesting, nobody who didn't know me didn't ask about my background, right?
Yeah.
Didn't The first thing I do is find out. I can sit with someone and find out a whole heap of information within 10 minutes without them realizing what I'm asking. That's a
Mm,
gift that I learned, right, over time. That for me was great for me to do what I do at that time, to be the dark horse. But as soon as they found out my talent, they tried to push me out of the industry,
yeah.
right? Because how can a female come in and do that, from changing times of appointments and then making out that I just didn't turn up so they thought that they could get the site? Because on a lot of the large sites, you tend to have, especially at the start of that time frame, you're working with 2 or 3 conjunction agents to make this happen, to get the connections doing, because you're talking about sites that were like 50 mil to 100 mil. So
Mm,
you can understand how ruthless that
mm,
can be, right? And who was I to come into their territory? There was only about 8 people doing the off market space. And when this is where a lot of now you hear about off market, right? But I was doing that 12 years ago,
yeah.
because, and I'll tell you how it came about. It was about the owners out in the land didn't want anybody knowing their business. Okay, they were protecting, and they didn't want so and so down the road to know what they were getting, because they were scared that they were going to, outdo them and they were going to get more. So it was very, very secret. So what I had put in my documents extra from the lawyer in the contracts was to actually say they were not allowed to speak about what their property sold for and what their contract entailed, and
Mm,
and everything like that. And the same with me.
yeah.
And you know what? That bought me so much business,
Yeah.
because
It's a
I had
well,
guaranteed,
it's documented trust, isn't it? Yeah.
right? And I have people even to this day say to me, oh, you don't put your sales out there, you don't put your documents out there, blah, blah, blah. Who's the smart one? I'm the one getting the business. And people look at you, and I think, well, yeah, I do. I think outside the box and I do things different. I don't need to put my tax return out on display,
No, I agree.
right? But, people think that, because the tier ones are doing that, oh, well, then they must be, so much better. No, I work very differently. And I stopped a long time ago, Robin, explaining myself to
Yeah.
anybody.
Yeah. Good on you. Good on you. I love that. And we sort of touched on that connection and those genuine relationships. And even though you had that sort of trusted NDA sort of
Mm.
setup, um,
Mine were
it still
deeds. Mine
it
were
still
deeds. I actually
yeah,
did
it still
deeds.
gives
Yeah.
them that confidence that nothing goes past here. And
Yes.
people like that. Um, so when we talk about those connections, and you got that connection that went back to school, so what if connections like those deeper connections rather than somebody you've just met and swapped a business card with? And when you talk about real estate and conjunction, I did do property economics for those who know me. So
Mm.
I did the REIQ course, sort of went, maybe that's not for me, then did property economics in my spare time. I like to study. It's something I do,
Yeah.
and then kept falling back to what I normally do. But um, those connections that you've made, rather than like, and like I said, real estate agents do it. They like
Mm.
flash past you, meet you briefly, hand you their business card. You don't know anything about them, but you're letting people sort of get to know you and know the person, and that you care about them, and you care to make the best situation for them. So what connections have changed for you? Like you've definitely, from when you first started, you've grown and recognized, I need this. This is makes a difference. So those connections, what have they meant on your journey? You know, have you had mentors? Have you had peers? Have you surrounded yourself with community? Like, what has that looked like, that deeper connection level?
I actually, because when I started Blue Diamond, it was a different area, but people had known about our success in family, in businesses, in the property world. And because it's a sort of a small community, people had known that I went through a 6.5 year, you know, divorce battle. Okay. So and dad retired. And so I was sort of out on my own trying to, make things work. And I was very lucky that I had a couple of people and really good businessmen take me under their wing and go, stay away from that person, stay away from this person. You need to do this, you need to do that. And so there I learned, I took on where these men, are in their late 70s, right? They're very successful, very street smart, telling me and showing me a different way as well to what I would have probably done it. One of the greatest assets you can have is listening, and listening to people who have been successful. But one of the things I had in common with all of these men was they rebuilt themselves and reinvented themselves.
Mm.
So if you're one to take a lot of risk and sometimes it doesn't go your way, but you don't give up and you rebuild and you go even better from what you've learned, they're kind of special business people.
Mm.
Right. And I was surrounded because they knew what I had been through to actually then go, we're going to help this girl. And so what I did, each specialized in something different. So you know yourself, if you've got property and you've got construction, right? You've got different areas. You've got house and land. You've got unit space. You've got retail and commercial. You've got childcare. You've got aged care. Okay. And we can keep going. Manufactured housing
Yeah.
estates. What I did, and industrial, you usually find that people will specialize in one.
Mm.
I already knew house and land, I already knew industrial, I already knew manufactured housing estates, I already knew subdivisions. What I ended up learning from some really great developers who were also civil contractors, right? So they used to put all the roads in and everything. And because I have a plumbing background from dad's major businesses with the house and land, I grew up with knowing how things work and how things happen to make an estate.
Mm.
So that led me into finding the land of the future suburbs, right? The land that would go into master plans, the
Yeah.
land that would,
Mm.
eventually be rezoned, or if you get enough land to put in for the rezoning.
Mm.
And I loved that section. Nobody wanted to touch it to a degree because you have to wait for your settlements, right? A lot of my settlements are over 5 years,
Mm.
and a lot of people can't make that work. Anyway, I loved it and I thought, no, I'm going to do that. Now, I got burnt on my first deal. I
Yeah.
got burnt, right? Really bad. $150 million sale. I had done it, did it. Everyone, this is a really good learning curve. I actually seen everyone go quiet on me, and I'm thinking, oh, what's going on here? This is a bit strange. And now I know what it means, right? Because this is a great learning curve.
Yeah.
And this sale goes up in, financial review and everything. And basically, they cut me out of the deal. Now, I didn't get recognized for it and I didn't get paid for it. But what I did is learn from it. And what I didn't have in place to actually go legally with them.
Yeah.
That's okay. Now I can do that. Now I know all the pitfalls and everything like that. And one of these people I did know for a very long time, and I didn't think they'd do the wrong thing by me. But again,
Mm.
when you got $150 million
Yeah.
and the commission's at, 1.5 or 2%,
Mm.
People learn to forget your name real quick
Yeah.
because they're looking at what they're saving and what they're doing. And, oh, what, you're going to come and fight me, what, 3 years later?
Mm.
Being a female in the space, people do not necessarily at the start didn't take me seriously because I was a female.
Yeah.
It soon changed on another deal that I did because I learned. And what happened was, interesting enough, we're doing it. It gets to ready for exchange. It's another big, large one, right? It was 50 mil, this one. And we're going in, and I had a gut feel to stay in the city because that's where the lawyers were. So I was there. And what happened was they ring me up that morning and said, oh, we've changed the meeting. It's going to be at 8 o'clock in the morning, so you won't be able to get here in time. And I said, no, actually, I'm sitting downstairs having a coffee. I'll be up in a second.
Mm.
Right, they discussed, but go in there. Everything's being done and sorted and everything. And then all of a sudden, we go out for lunch, and I come back, and this this other agent had changed the meeting. It was a conjunction, right? Changed
Mm.
the meeting to elsewhere and didn't tell me. And then sent me a photo of a bottle of champagne saying, look who's going to get paid and who's not.
Wow.
And I said, really? Okay. What he didn't realize, because people don't do their homework and don't ask the right questions, is this group was also looking for another property and actually dealing another property, which a good colleague of mine was actually doing.
Mm.
And I said, can you please ring them up and say that Blue Diamond has a buyer and it's better priced than yours? So we're going to deal with Blue Diamond. I said, just trust me on it. You know what? I got paid the next day.
Yeah.
I got paid the next day because we had done this deal where the exchange was a release of money and part payment was done with that release, right? So this guy thought he was great having his champagne because he knew he was getting that money the next day after exchange and the release of money, and thought I wasn't. I got paid.
Mm.
And I learned very quick to play the game and play the game
Yeah.
right and play it better,
Yeah.
right? And you think that you go into business, you don't have to do that.
Mm.
Guess what? You do. You
Yeah.
have to know the game. You have to know how to play it, but you need to know also to play it better, play it different, and be 4 steps ahead of what's actually going to happen if it doesn't happen.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
learned that and I perfected it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so yes, I may have lost that big sale, but I tell you what, I learned how to play real
Picked
quick.
it up in the end. Yeah. So your connections, what has that meant to you? Like it is,
Everything. I have never advertised.
yeah,
In
wow.
12 years, I have never advertised.
Yeah.
Every part of my business has been from relationship driven of colleagues, contacts, of everything that I have built over the years in business, and a referral if somebody has referred from knowing someone who I've done the work for, or someone says, oh, Raquel can specialize in that area for you. So the fact is, I was raised, if you are good enough, you do not have to advertise.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
And
don't
business,
believe that, nor businesses, don't get me wrong, I
yeah,
don't.
yeah,
Because I think some businesses, like in products and everything, you have to advertise, right? That's part of
yeah,
the new world. But
yeah.
in what we did and how we did it, and if you're good enough, that
Mm.
referral basis will take you to where you need to be. And
Yeah.
that may change in different
Yeah, I don't
parts
know.
of business.
I believe that's true because in any of the businesses that I've had, including the current one, yeah, like I get and like you, shout outs in rooms that you're not in from people that you don't know, but they know somebody that you know. So those deep connections come through because they you have a deep connection with somebody, and then they have a deep connection with someone else. and that someone else has given you a shout out in a room you're not in, and you've never met that person, they've never met you, but they
Mm,
really trust the person. And that's why it's really important, those levels of trust, because those levels also let you down. So that agent that did you over would
mm,
get known as doing that
correct.
to others.
Could
And
you imagine the future business that we could have done?
yeah, yeah,
Like the
absolutely.
amount of work out in Western Sydney
Yeah.
in the last 12 years, it's not as much at the moment because a lot of the land has been bought up and it's sitting there getting ready to be developed with the infrastructure coming in and the big parcels, especially near the airport and industrial, they're all taken up. Okay. Now, people don't realize that if someone doesn't trust you, they're not going to work. And some of the people that I meet that come from referral bases actually say to me, "Oh, Raquel, so and so told me that I can fully trust you."
Mm,
You're talking about some of these landowners having holdings, right? 15 mil, 15 mil. These are people, this is their lottery ticket. This is their part of the gold. But also, it has to work. It's black and white. It has to work for the developer coming in. It
mm,
has to merge together for them both to be happy.
yeah,
And that's what you want. You want both to be happy,
yeah.
not just one, not just the other, both. And because I've actually done both, I've been on both sides.
Mm,
That is my secret of being able to merge because I know how that person's thinking. I know how that person's thinking. And usually the landowners are more emotional,
mm,
and the developer coming in is strictly black and
yeah,
white. There is no emotion with them whatsoever. And
mm,
that's where I become that conduit to go, hang on a minute, you need to do this for this person.
mm,
Sometimes deals can be done outside the box where, say, for instance, I have sites at the moment that have been going 4 years,
yeah.
4 years, should have settled last year. And what I did, the developer goes, it's still not rezoned. There's no infrastructure in sight. I said, okay, well, how about we go back to the owners? Instead of
Mm,
you settling, that money you would pay in interest to the bank for a loan, how about you give that to the owners to hold on for another year?
mm,
You know what? 8 of them, after long negotiations, all signed. And instead of giving the bank the interest, they've given it for the homeowners to get the extra 12 months.
yeah, yeah.
It's a win win.
It is a win-win. And just imagine that agent that did that, like conjuncting is what we call collaboration
Mm,
in other terms, like conjuncting for real estate agents is collaboration.
yep,
And if that agent had looked past competition and looked at collaborating, look where they would have it would have taken them. And that's the sad part where those deep connections aren't made. They haven't put in that effort to make that connection. Yeah, and I love that
correct.
you point that out, because I
Mm,
know you've made some pretty amazing connections around the place.
I
Not
have.
just in the business world, but also in the community work with with your charity and things like that
Mm,
as well. Yeah,
which is amazing. It's so good for your soul. So
yeah,
good for your soul. And seeing we work in the area where I was raised and grew up, and it keeps me in the community as well, and it
mm,
keeps me going back. However, when you see what you've done, my whole community and charity work is over 13 years now of being on boards out in the Western Sydney area where I grew up, which is right near the airport, new
yeah,
airport. And the difference that we made, and I think all communities need charities, big
mm,
or small,
yeah,
because every contribution into the community is important. No matter what it is, it's still chipping away and making a difference at what you're doing. So from your Lions clubs to your Rotary clubs to your smaller social enterprises, okay, all of those are doing something that is needed or combating something that is an issue in the community that needs help. So I think every community needs charities of all types there helping. Okay. we were lucky enough that in especially with Forever Giving, it's basically Pat and I have both been in the property and construction industry all of our lives, in our working lives. So that sector really comes together when it's needed, which we saw last year, where we, built a home for a family of 9 children that lost their house to a fire. That was a 2-year project for the foundation and a lot of work, but it was the connections over the years that were built
Mm.
that built this house.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. The contribution from the trades, from the suppliers, that didn't come overnight just for doing a good deed. That came from relationships
Yeah.
that had
And
been built over many, many years.
yeah, and that's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's like what like regardless of how much you make in real estate, that would to me would be like the piece de resistance, the thing that would keep you going is just that difference that you have made to little people's lives, and it's just amazing.
Oh, even years later, like the first charity event that we did was for the firefighters,
Mm,
the volunteer ones at Horsley Park, and I went to Horsley Park Public School, so that's where I grew up.
yep.
And that was hard hitting because at the time I had just left Rotary, and Horsley Park Fire Brigade was one of their beneficiaries all the
Mm,
time, and they were always at our events. And then when you see little Charlotte and Harvey, now you watch over the years growing up, we contributed to that we raised a lot of money, and what we did, we put it in a trust for the 2 children. So
mm,
Charlotte and Harvey, they were able to have all their schooling paid, any medical or anything like that, and it's
mm.
protected in a trust. And I watch them now on Facebook, and I see them getting their school awards or going to their swimming lessons or whatever they're doing, and I think, wow, we played a part in their future.
Yeah, absolutely. Change the outcome, like of where they would have been. So that's absolutely amazing.
And
Yeah.
so you watch later on the difference that you've made over the years. You actually see later on, you still watch it grow, and you're there in the distance, but you're having a overlook and going, wow, I made a difference there. And you don't have to shout it out loud, but
Yeah.
you know yourself you did.
Yeah, yeah, and it just lights your
Yeah.
heart up, like it just makes your heart sing, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and we meet so many different people in charity, good people in charity.
Mm,
People are there. Most people I found in my experience in charity have that do a lot of charity work and sit on the boards. You'll find that they've experienced some type of
mm,
trauma or heartache in
mm,
their world that has made them want to give back. So charity can also be very healing
yes.
for
Yeah.
people, which
Yeah.
is very interesting, because it's very giving. And like at our luncheon last year, we had 450 people come. What was
Mm,
really interesting, we raffled off a car, right? So whoever's there, you
yeah.
can only buy a ticket if you're there at
Yeah.
that luncheon, and whoever's in there gets that prize, which is a car.
Mm,
And we did it, and the person that won actually donated the car back and actually said auction it,
yeah.
right? And then that money can go back to the family. Well,
Mm,
the car was auctioned for 25,000, and we're thinking, great. So, between the raffle tickets and the car, fantastic. And then the best part came after that. That car was donated back to the family.
it's
So,
wonderful.
how much better can you get than that?
I know. Yeah, yeah. I've actually got some dear friends of mine who I love dearly who did win a car at a charity event, and they
Mm.
donated it back. And then
Yeah,
they went
see?
back later that evening. They said, we didn't even get a photo with the car that we donated back. So they went back and got a photo. Um, but yeah, theirs was a really heartwarming story like that. And their two daughters were there, and their daughters were like, but hang on, we could do with the car, like because they were
Yeah,
young, they just learned how to drive or whatever. And they were like, nah, nah, there's other people out there that need it. And it's just
yeah.
an
And
incredible
we
gift.
see this type of generosity.
Mm,
2 years before that, we raffled off a car, and the gentleman who won it actually he kept the car, but he gave half the price of the car as a donation
wow.
back to the charity. So
Yeah.
we get some really good generosity stories that
Yeah.
they don't have to do that, but they
No.
choose to do that.
Yeah. And philanthropy comes from unexpected places. It's not always people with large amounts of money where
Yeah.
philanthropy comes from. I see it a lot with small businesses that, yeah, they're just so generous and quite humble. They don't want necessarily
They don't
anyone
want
to
anybody to
know.
know. We
And
get that a
I
lot
get
with our
that because
sponsors.
you'd be
Yeah.
probably being every charity be ringing you
Yes.
up probably.
Get
Um,
inundated.
But it is beautiful, and that connecting and that doing that in the community and connecting in the community for people to want to do that.
Mm.
That takes a special person, Raquel, and that's definitely one of those. Well, you are
Oh,
that special person, but
thank
like
you.
in your charity group, one of those special people that, you're fostering that, which is just beautiful.
Yeah, it's like a second business. It's
Mm,
like a second, the hours that you put in. This is
yeah.
something that people don't see behind the scenes. It goes, 365 days a year. We give out hampers at Christmas, and there's things that are constantly going through. But something really special is going to happen this year, actually. When we first did our luncheon, back in 2020 was our first luncheon, and it was in between the COVID shutdowns
Mm,
and that we had it in the city. We had quite a large event still, like maybe 150. Okay, and in that time frame, in the first one, that was still a good response. What I found when I was there was probably 5% of that room was women.
mm,
There were no women really
yeah.
attending the business luncheon.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm going to change that. I am going to change that. And last year at our luncheon, where we had 450 people, I
Mhm.
would say 40% of that room were women.
Love it. Yeah.
Right? And I just stood there and I went, something I really fought for and advocated for was for women to realize they have a voice and they deserve a table at a business luncheon that was
Mm.
always technically for men.
Yeah.
And what from that now this year, I'm I'm able because I feel we have the audience to do it. And everybody is welcome. It's not just the community of where we are.
Mm.
It's a women's health day and it's
Mm.
an awareness event. And we're doing it on the 4th of September. And it's going to be a full day where we have speakers that will be about health or different types of health and
Mhm.
even business health. If you're in business, part of my yearly makeup now that I put together, I do a circle and I put down what areas that I want to concentrate on. And 20% of that now is my health.
Mm.
What do I do for my health? I go to my physio every 2 weeks. Been doing that for 25 years.
Oh gosh.
That is part of my business
Yeah.
makeup,
Yeah.
right? Because if I'm not functioning well and I've got headaches, well, how can I give it my days my best work? I can't.
Mm.
So I make sure my health is up there. I have my blood tests every 6 months. I keep on top of everything to make sure that I actually get the best out of my day.
Mm.
So business health is part of your business plan.
It is. It is. That's true. That's
Because
true.
if you're not well, how can you go to a function? How can you go and do this? And I know certain parts of you know your limits. So if I'm out at a function at 10 o'clock at night and I've got to drive 2 hours home, I will leave at 9:30
Yeah.
because I know I've got 2 hours on the road to get home.
Mm.
So I'm very aware of what I need to be at and what I need to do to function again the next day.
Mm.
My brain works, weeks ahead sometimes, right?
I know. I know. You can always see it clocking over. Like,
It doesn't stop, right? It doesn't stop.
yeah.
But I make sure I exercise. I make sure I go for my long walks on the beach. And some of my best work is thought through doing that beach walk.
Mm.
Some
Mm.
best creativity that comes together, or if you can't figure out a solution for a problem in your business, well, you go for a walk on the beach, and by the time I finish that walk, I have a solution. So if you are smart about your business week, you know how you can best work it and best get a result
Mm.
from it. If you know if you're going to go and do that and then the next day you cannot, function properly, well, don't do it unless you know you're going to take that day off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because what are you going to do? You're not going to do your best work.
No.
You have to do your best work to get your best results.
Mm. Yeah,
And you're
that's
not going to get that
very
by,
true. That's
not focusing. You
yeah.
got to focus. It's not like we said before, what do we learn over the years of getting to where you need to get to have your success? And it's certainly not by not learning by your mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've all made them.
Absolutely, we do. And we can
and
make them when times are good and times are tough. Like it's not
and no matter
a
what
line
stage
in
of
the middle.
business you're in, you're never going to get
Absolutely.
it 100% right. Isn't that a great
Well, that's
area
the human. That's
as a
the
human
human.
to know that you're not going to do that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Because everything's evolving and changing as well in business. I
Mm.
remember back in the day when I first started business, we didn't even have mobile phones.
Yeah.
Everything was done by fax,
Yeah.
right? You didn't send invoices. You actually printed them off and took them to the supplier
Whoever.
or the builder.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I remember my son running in with them,
Yeah.
because he used to come with me and he
Mm.
used to run in, and give the invoices.
Yeah, how different things are. How different things are.
It's interesting how we did things the old fashioned way to now how much extra time we do have in our business compared to what we did years ago. That's quite an
Mm.
interesting fact. And again, what else do? You don't always have to stay inside your business,
Yeah.
do you? Women's
No.
empowerment. I mean, and that's where I met you,
Yeah,
the Mompreneur.
we
I mean,
did.
what a
Where
wonderful organization.
did we meet overseas?
I
Is
think
that
so
what
for the first time. We may have known who each other was, but
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
actually
It's
know
that
each other.
similar circles we're moving in, but yeah, do we know each other? Yeah, yeah.
No,
And
I
I
think we
love
shared a
that.
taxi ride with Fiona
Yes, we
Holstrom.
did.
Yes.
We did.
And I thought, oh, I finally get to
We
actually
we
have a
were heading
conversation.
somewhere and you guys missed the transit. I was like, that's all right, just jump in with us. It's like, and we're getting in this car with this strange person and a husband, but hey, yeah. But Fiona knew me. I wasn't
Yeah.
strange to Fiona.
Yeah.
I could see the look on your face. It's like, do we know these people? We're getting into a car with us. Where are they taking us?
We're embarrassed. What are we
To a
doing?
wine bar, it turned out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it? Oh no, that was the lunch. That was going to lunch. Yeah.
Yeah. But what a wonderful way to meet other business people that you can do business with.
Yeah.
And it's not, necessarily to do with construction.
Mm.
It could be
Mm.
to do with the foundation. It
Yeah.
could be to get a women's grant for something that I can do back for the community. It's having a very open mindset and not closing your mind to go, oh, how could I possibly do business with that person? Well, how could you possibly not?
Yeah, yeah, and
How could you
missed
possibly not?
missed opportunity again, like that guy that we talked about in the beginning. Like often people miss those opportunities, and I know different ones have said to me, "How do you know this person, or how do you know that person?" And it's like I haven't purposely set out to meet somebody,
Mm,
and usually I've met them when they aren't like famous or really
yes,
well known,
yes.
and just had that connection and had a chat and wanted to know about them and they wanted to know about me, and from there that relationship builds. And then usually I'm watching them go off and become famous and they forget about me. But anyway.
No, I don't think so. But you know what's really interesting? I was given a really good piece of advice the first week I started working from my dad in the family businesses. And I've never forgotten it. And
Mm,
it's still true to this day. Never underestimate who knows who.
yeah,
And
so true.
I took that on board. And I tell you what,
Yeah.
people wonder how I know people
Mm,
like you.
yeah.
It's because we don't judge people, we get to know the person for who they are,
Mm,
and we enjoy those conversations for who they are,
mm, mm.
not who they're going to be,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
who they are in that
Right.
time frame.
Yeah, yeah. And it
And
it is it is true. And I mean, we're all human and and I do believe we all have that ability to connect on that level,
mm,
even if you're meeting somebody. And I know, like my days in City Hall, for example, I met some pretty amazing, important, like you name it, I met them.
yeah,
Um, but it's really funny. You can have conversations with them like outside of whatever they're doing. Like I
yes,
used to take some behind the behind the doors sort of tours. Like they'd
yeah.
give me the dignitaries. And you have those conversations like and it's like they're just a person like everybody else.
That's what people
They
forget. They're
yeah,
human, right? And they
yeah.
enjoy just a nice conversation and not wanting something from them,
From it. Yeah, just
right?
that connection where you're just having a conversation and you're not wanting something from them,
Yeah,
when they're in that position, you're just having a conversation with another person and they really do value that. It's really I've found that along the way,
yes.
that they're the things they value because I even know like some of the people I know like you would, who have become somebody
Mm,
and they often say they can count their friends or the people that they would trust information to, that
yes.
connection that they've made along the way on one hand.
Yes,
They could
and I
count those
agree
people
with
that
that.
they would trust their house with or their car with or their
Mm,
children with or trust telling them something that they know that it's you don't have to sign anything, you don't have to do anything. It's not going to go any further. You just trust each other on that level.
and it's
Um,
interesting because Dad had a philosophy in business back then. I mean, things have changed a lot now, but he said, if you feel you can't do business with someone on a handshake,
yeah.
you shouldn't be doing business with them.
Yeah, well, like that was the saddest part I found when I stepped out into my own small entity
Mm,
was I didn't realize those handshake deals were dead. That was something that I learnt very quickly that
yeah,
hang on, didn't we like, working in a male dominated industry, you shake hands and didn't we not
yes,
shake hands? Oh yeah, but things changed since then. It's like, okay. You've shown me, and that's where people like that agent showing you me a side of yourself
mm,
that I will never forget. I will remember that side that you've shown me, and
yes.
won't trust you with anything. I won't connect you with my trusted people. I won't collaborate with you. I'll be polite and courteous. Um, but
But it
I'm
goes, how
sorry,
do you
you've
know who
shown
that
me that
person knows,
you've
right?
shown me you can't be trusted. And when someone can't be
Absolutely.
trusted, Yeah.
There's people that I still work with to this day, and we've never had an agreement between each other.
Mm.
And we're talking 25 years of doing types of business together because I don't need one. He knows he's going to get paid, and I know I'm going to get paid.
Yeah.
And it's never ever even been raised when we
Mm.
do business.
Mm.
Never been raised because
Mm.
the trust is there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, word gets out.
Word gets out
Those
really quick. This is what
It
people
does.
don't
It does.
realize,
And
about protecting your reputation
yeah.
as you go through business. And people always say to me, Raquel, I know if I'm dealing with you, it's genuine and it's honest and it's real.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Because
that's credibility. You've built that credibility. And
credibility.
those other people, I know I have clients and they go, "What do you think of this person?" And I'll say, "Well,
Mm,
between you and me." And if it's somebody that I feel I can't trust, along with somebody who I feel like, yeah, like
yeah, no
they're
problem.
amazing, yeah,
Yeah,
you'll give that feedback to somebody who trusts you to ask that question, and you
correct.
trust them to honor that we've had that discussion just between us. But
Yeah,
people who
definitely.
do that, and I find people who burn people in business, they it's interesting. They often have something in common, and that's that they're often chasing more and more business. They never
Yes.
have return clients. They don't,
That
they're always
interesting.
chasing new things or more business.
Mm,
Where like those of us, we don't need to do that. Those return clients just show up. They just like, you
yeah.
don't need, yeah, and you don't need to advertise. You don't need to push your business card at somebody and things like that. So
Mm,
they do have, so I suppose that's something we could all look out for in business. They have that one thing in common is they're always chasing more and more clients. And it's
yes,
not necessarily more and more clients because they need more clients. It's because they've burnt their clients. They're
at
ones
them.
that would come back to them on a constant basis. They've burnt them along the way.
I know. And
Mm.
it's, you want to it, like we go back to, you want to enjoy your work day, don't you?
Yeah,
So if you want to
absolutely.
enjoy your work day and you've built great relationships around you,
Yeah.
well then, that's not done overnight either. That's done over many years, many experiences, the good, the bad experiences,
Yeah.
and learning from those experiences and
Mm.
not putting blame on somebody else that something went wrong in the deal. There's been many a deal where we've, at the end it's fallen apart, or something's happened and the owner's gone to the competition with everything that we were doing, and legally we didn't have a leg to stand on, because we had shared information which was beneficial to him, which it was either going to work for us or it wasn't going to work for us. We had to put certain trust in deals. They don't
Mm.
always work out.
Yeah.
And this is what people, and you could have worked on that deal for 6 months and not been paid anything. You have to accept that it's not anybody's fault sometimes. It's just that that deal didn't work and we didn't get it over the line. That's
Mm.
life,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Because if you sit there going over it and over it and over it, you're not putting your energy into something else that's going to happen.
Mm.
Accept it, learn from it. Don't give the next owner as much information that we did. Instead of going and then getting a partner and doing it himself,
Mm.
maybe, don't give all that information out so freely.
Yeah.
Okay. You live and you learn.
Yeah, you
That's
do.
just life.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love your positive outlook on that. You will always learn from it. And I could talk to you forever and a
Oh,
day about
likewise.
everything. Um, is there anything else you want to share? Is there anything else?
I think at the end of the day, you have to always look at what you're doing, where you're going, and is it going to make you happy?
Yeah, I love
Is
that.
it going to actually make you happy? If not, find something that you're passionate about. Find something that you really want to get up and you don't feel like you're working.
Yeah, I love that. That's wonderful. Thank you,
Yeah.
Raquel. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you
I've
so much for having
loved
me.
chatting to you. I'm sure we can catch up again. And I will share about your Women's Health Day on the 4th of
Yeah,
September as well. That
wonderful.
sounds
It's going to be an
fantastic.
amazing
I don't
day,
know where I'll be in September, but if I can
hopefully
make
there.
it, I'll come. Absolutely. All right. You have a beautiful day.
I will. I
All
will.
right.
Okay.
We'll talk
Thanks.
soon.
Thanks for
Thanks.
having me.
Bye.